strange disappearance of All Grown Up, aka the show Nickelodeon never gave a chance to.
That's a lot of damage!
Yeah, these guys are slowly becoming villains in my eyes with the way they were Thanos in these shows back in the day, if that's even a word. One day I'm watching this show, then Nickelodeon snaps and it's gone. Bruh. This is the second segment of my new series, The Strange Disappearance, where we dive into these shows that ended in weird ways or just disappeared out of nowhere. So if that sounds good to you, be sure to drop a like for your boy and let's talk about it. So what exactly was All Grown Up? This show was pretty much a continuation of the Rugrats series following the main protagonist Tommy Pickles, and similar to Rugrats, All Grown Up will explore the life of Tommy and his childhood friends who are now adolescents. Tommy, Chucky, Lil, Phil, Dill, and Kimmy now range in ages from 9 to 11, while Angelica and Susie are pretty much full-blown teenagers now. This series would also introduce new regular characters like Harold, who was a devoted follower of Angelica, and Mr. Pangborn, a poetry-spouting former wrestler who turned into a school vice principal. So how did this show begin? Well, these older versions of the characters were first introduced in the episode All Growed Up, which serves as the original 10th anniversary special and proved to be a smash with the audience. But this is when things start to get a little controversial. After noticing the massive increase in the audience and seeing this special not only intrigue the people who watch Rugrats, but get the attention of older children around the ages 9 to 12, Nickelodeon decided they were going to make this an entire show. Great! Except the only problem at the time was, in order for them to start working on this show, they had to stop working on the Rugrats, which at the time was still airing frequently. Now at the time as a kid, it's not like I knew this information or even cared to know, but I will admit that if someone told me this back in the day, I would have also favored the decision to stop the production on the Rugrats to give life to something new and refreshing, such as All Grown Up. Rugrats was like 7 seasons in and was starting to get very stale, so why not? All Grown Up will air its first official episode, Coupe de Ville, on April 12, 2003. This episode is more about Phil and Lil than it is about Tommy. That's a pretty bold move. You don't even make the first episode about the main character. Bruh. I actually did enjoy this episode though. Lil was invited to a party with all the popular kids at school, and by this time she had grown out of all the super childish things in life. Well, maybe not all of them, but Phil on the other hand hadn't really matured on the level Lil had. This will lead to him embarrassing her in front of her friends, and they had specifically told her Phil wasn't invited to the party. They view Phil as weird and thought he had bad hygiene, so they didn't want to be around him. In this episode, you'll see Lil pulling away from Phil as he tries to remain close to her. Yeah, Lil was going through major changes as an adolescent and had started to like different things than Phil, which is totally normal, especially with them being different gender twins. Boys and girls tend to like different things. That's just our nature as humans. You'll see in this particular scene when Phil and Lil get put together for a science project, she completely freaks out in front of the entire class and has to remind everyone that her and Phil are two individual people and not a single person, which leads to Phil feeling pretty embarrassed. Their mom would also allow Lil to move into the office/workout room to give her more space of her own, because for some odd reason her and Phil were still sharing rooms. Yeah, they're like way too old for that. They should have been did this. Now as this episode progresses, it becomes more obvious Phil is struggling to deal with the changes and misses having Lil in his life, despite Dill's many attempts to become Phil's new twin. Bruh, they made Dill so weird in this series. Now towards the end of this episode, when Lil attends this party, she realizes Phil wasn't the lame one. Her so-called friends started making fun of her brother, and this would cause for her to leave the party, but not before going off on everybody.
Hey! I can say he's a jerk or a slob or gross, but you guys can't. You don't really know him.
There is also a subplot going on in this episode with Chucky struggling to complete the president fitness test and resents the embarrassment of gym class. This man Chucky was doing everything he could to avoid going, which is pretty hilarious considering gym should be his easiest class. I mean, come on Chucky, man up bruh. So with a solid first episode and a lot of excitement for this show, why did it get canceled? Surely they went wrong somewhere when mapping out this series. Well, like with many other shows that Nickelodeon just sends into oblivion, we didn't get a direct answer on why they canceled this show. But one might say it could be for many reasons why they decided to trash this show. For starters, they really didn't give it a fair chance. After only about 2 seasons, they started airing this show at 6 a.m. in the morning. That's pretty insane and already a big fuck you from Nickelodeon, considering they definitely knew kids would still be asleep around this time. It's also important to mention the original creator of the show was fired due to low ratings by the 3rd season. Honestly, I had no problems with the show and I would tune in whenever I could catch it. Keywords, whenever I could, because I don't really remember seeing this show come on often. Honestly, I think it comes down to Nickelodeon Studios not being able to capture the same magic they once did with the Rugrats. The show started to become a thing of its own and started branching out far away from the original, which I personally think was a good idea. I mean, you can't stay stuck in the past forever. At some point, change will need to be made or things will just get stale. Now, whether those changes are good or bad, that's debatable, but it seems for the most part the intended audience wasn't too fond of these changes and lost interest in the show really quick, which would result in it getting trashed after only 55 episodes and not getting an official season finale. Man, talk about getting no love from Nickelodeon. Now I will admit the last episode of this show really isn't anything too special. In fact, it wasn't special at all. It was just a regular smuggler episode and not a very good one, honestly. I've seen this show do much better. I'll save you the trouble of sitting through an entire recap of this episode, but we can briefly go over it. The 10th episode of season 5 and the 55th episode overall, it was the final Rugrats production to date until the 2021 reboot and is the final installment of the original 1991 continuation of the franchise. In this episode, Lou tries to take Tommy to a baseball game, but he ends up blowing his grandfather off because he had a date. Grandpa then takes Dill in his place, only under the conditions that he had to wear regular clothing. Bruh.
And you gotta wear normal clothes.
Deal.
Yeah, but after this, Dill and Grandpa started doing more things together, and Tommy just gets jealous of them. Sounds super interesting, right? Not! This was horrible for a final episode, but if I had to guess, I'm willing to bet after pulling the plug on this show, and it takes its final breath, Nickelodeon said, fuck that season finale, this show sucks. Let's just move on. And as sad as that sounds, I'm willing to bet it's true. So yeah, that's probably why we didn't get a real season finale. But yeah guys, did you actually watch this show in its prime? Or a better question would be, did you even get a chance to catch this show on TV? Because it was kinda difficult. But let me know in the comments down below. And until next time, peace.